Oke, bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hari ini,
Waalaikumsalam.
Waalaikumsalam. Hari ini pertemuan bahasa Inggris. Saya mau rapel ya, karena kita mau menuju tes. Dari kemarin memikirkan bagaimana metode yang tepat biar pembelajaran ini tidak membosankan hanya mendengarkan dari musike. Jadi mencoba metode lain. Kalau anak-anak presentasi, teman-teman mau dengerin enggak? Semangatnya lebih keluar apa gimana? Karena kan pembelajarannya virtual ya. Oleh karena itu saya bagi 3 topik sebelumnya. Nanti setelah presentasi, saya akan melengkapi yang kurang. Jadi dengan begini, Anda akan menguasai satu topik. Jadi tidak hanya dari saya saja. Kalau Anda mempresentasikan berarti kan Anda membaca, merangkum, terus mengingat. Akhirnya nanti kalau di akhir perkuliahan kita jadi melakukan seminar dengan teman saya yang di Australia. Jadi Anda bisa punya satu topik yang Anda kuasai dan Anda pun bisa bertanya terkait dengan topik yang pernah Anda presentasikan dengan budaya Australia pada teman saya tersebut. Begitu. Harapannya seperti itu. Namun sayang sekali hari ini harusnya topik 3 dimulai dengan dengan Abila, materi problem, ditunggu PDF-nya. Kemudian topik 4 juga Aziza problem, karena yang udah siap si Putra. Kita akan mulai dengan cultural identity and cultural biases. Jadi mundur ya. Silakan Putra, time and places is yours.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Today I will presentation about cultural identity and cultural biases. Cultural identity, oneself of belonging to particular culture or ethnic group, formed in a process that results from membership in a culture, ancestry, thinking patterns. Cultural identity refers to one's sense of belonging to a particular culture or ethnic group. It is formed in a process that results from membership and particular culture. It involves learning about and accepting the tradition, heritage, language, religions, ancestry, aesthetics, thinking patterns, and social structure of society. People internalize the beliefs, values, norms, and social practice of their culture and identify with that culture as part of their self-concept. Social identity develops as a consequence of membership in particular groups within one's culture. The characteristics and concerns common to most members of such social groups shape that the way individuals view their characteristics. The types of groups with which people identify can vary widely and may include perceived similarities due to age, gender, work, religion, ideology, social class, place, neighborhood, region, and nation, and common interests. Personal identity refers to people's unique characteristics which may differ from those of others in their cultural or social groups. You may like cooking, singing, sewing, tennis, etc., but not identify with those social groups. The formation of cultural identity occurs in the three stages. The examined cultural identity stage involves a lack of interest in cultural issues as a result of taking one's own cultural characteristic for granted. Young children lack awareness of cultural difference. Cultural identity of many European Americans have remained largely unexamined, unexamined. B or C of their perceived normalcy. Cultural identity search involves a process of exploration and questioning about one's culture in order to learn more about it. Who am I? Where do I belong here? What is my cultural life? Cultural identity assessment involves the acceptance of oneself and an internalization of one's cultural identity. Like, my culture is important. I'm proud of being Japanese people. Characteristic of cultural identity. Cultural identity provides a framework for organizing and interpreting one's experience of others. Cultural identities are central to one's sense of self, similar to your gender and race. Cultural identities are dynamic and change with one's ongoing life experience. Like my friend who came from Jakarta because his father experienced a change of office and forced him to move to Java. At first, he avoided conversation using Japanese, but over time, he was able to recognize Japanese and pronounce it in his own style. Cultural identities are multifaceted, can be simultaneously a student, employee, friend, woman, sojourner, daughter, Christian, millennial, and more. Cultural bias yang sosial dulu. Social categorizing. People impose a pattern on their work by organizing the stimuli into conceptual categories. Most people think that other people perceive, evaluate, and reason about the world in the same way that they do. Humans simplify the processing and organizing of information from the environment by identifying certain characteristics as belonging to certain categories of person and events. Ethnocentrism. Ethnocentrism occurs when the beliefs, values, and practice of one culture are viewed as superior to those of others. All cultures have a tendency to be ethnocentric. To be a competent intercultural communicator, you need to recognize how your own culture influences your judgment of others. Be aware of your emotional reaction to such judgment and acknowledge the extent of your judgment to minimize their effect on your communication. Stereotyping. Stereotypes are form of generalization about a group of people. Groups can be stereotyped based on their religion, age, occupation, social class, geographical location, and many other characteristics. Stereotypes can be inaccurate in two ways. When stereotypes are assumed to apply to all members of a group or a category, resulting a tendency to ignore difference among the individual members of the group. When the group operates as suggests by a stereotype is simply wrong or inappropriately
Exaggerated.
exaggerated. Prejudice. Prejudice refers to attitude toward other people that are based on faulty and inflexible stereotypes. This is a universal physiological process. All people have a propensity for prejudice toward others who are unlike themselves. Function of prejudice. It helps people organize and simply the world. It satisfies a utilitarian or adjustment function. Expressing prejudicial statement about certain people may cause others who agree with the statements to like you more. It is easier to simply dislike and be prejudiced toward members of other groups because they can be dismissed without going through the effort necessary to adjust to them. It serves an ego defensive function by protecting a person's self-esteem. We maintain our self-esteem by scorning people who differ from us. It serves a knowledge function. The rigid application of categories and the prejudicial attitudes assigned to certain behaviors and beliefs provide security and increase predictability. Discrimination. The term discrimination refers to behavioral manifestation of prejudice. It is prejudice in action. Discrimination occurs in many forms from extremes of segregation and apartheid to biases in housing, employment, education, economic resource, personal safety, and legal protection. It is the unequal treatment of certain individuals because of their membership to a particular racism. At the individual level, racism is conceptually very similar to prejudice. At the institutional level, racism is the exclusion of certain people from equal participation in the society's institution solely because of their race. At the cultural level, racism denies the existence of the culture of a particular group and enforces the rejection of the cultural beliefs and values. Although racism is often used synonymously with prejudice and discrimination, the social attributes that distinguish it from these two terms are oppression and power. The next item is Form, forms of racism vary in intensity and degree of expression. Old-fashioned racism is the most extreme form of racism. Symbolic racism, also called modern racism, occurs when members of a group with political and economic power believe that members of some other group threaten their traditional values. Example: Chinese are taking our jobs. Aversive racism occurs when individuals who highly value fairness and equality among all racial and cultural groups nevertheless have negative beliefs and feelings about members of particular race. I'm not racist, but I don't date Indian men. Genuine likes and dislikes occur when the cultural practices a group display are not liked by members of another group. The degree of familiarity can lead to negative attitudes because of lack of experience with the characteristics of their group. Is there any question, guys?
Sorry, Miss, isn't unmute.
Terima kasih. Lupa terus. Miss Nika mau nanya banyak pertanyaan buat Putra. Banyak banget tuh. Penasaran banget. Tapi bagus, presentasinya sudah bagus. Cuma yang sayang baru dipresentasikan Putra adalah itu baru belum terlalu dalam dan belum ada contoh kasus. Cuma saya menarik tadi tentang Japanese. Japanese itu kamu ambil sumber apa karena kamu bisa membuat contoh dari pemikiranmu sendiri? Tadi kan ada
Ya,
itu.
dari pemikiran sendiri.
Oke, itu bagus.
Karena pembiasaan.
Pembiasaan, oke. Nanti akan saya tambahkan ya, tapi kita dengarkan teman dulu karena kita ngajar materi. Terima kasih Putra untuk hari ini, presentasinya bagus sekali. Saya akan stop dulu karena presentasi butuh 40 menit. Nanti akan saya share link baru dan kita akan mulai dengan Abila Meka ya. Karena ini direkam, berarti kan tunggu dia mengconvert dulu, kemudian baru saya akan share link baru tersebut. Jadi estimasi saya kurang lebih menunggu sekitar 15-20 menit dia mengconvert. Nah, saya akan stop di sini. Oke, sebentar saya screenshot dulu. Senyum kodak keluarga kita. Yuk, 1, 2, 3. Sudah. Saya stop dulu ya. Nanti saya share link berikutnya. Ditunggu. Terima kasih.
Oke, Miss.